Praise be to Jesus and Mary. You're listening to Returning to Catholic Roots in a New Age World, a podcast hosted by Holly and Mandy. Let's begin our show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Returning to Catholic Roots in a New Age World. My name is Holly, and as always, I'm joined here by my mother, Mandy. We're happy to be back for another episode, and we'll begin by saying, Jesus, meek and humble of heart, make our hearts like unto thine. So yeah, sorry we missed last week. The week just kind of got away from us, and sometimes things just get busy.
Right, lots of things going on.
Lots of things going on. We're busy. My mom and I are busy trying to reboot, and we have some things coming up at the church, some events and stuff that we're getting ready for, fall festivals, things like that.
But we are rebooting other things.
We are rebooting other things. We're rebooting our Catholic homestead.
Yes, right. We have two videos that are going to come out soon, hopefully. One is a mishmash of stuff that was videotaped last year, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, right. The building of our chicken coop. So I don't know. Holly's going to spin some magic. What she does is she edits and she makes the boring seem exciting.
I guess. I try.
She tries. And we did a video. What did we make?
Rhubarb barbecue sauce.
Rhubarb barbecue sauce. We did a video on rhubarb barbecue sauce. So hopefully she gets that. This losing the job
has given me all the time in the world.
Yes, but also to redirect, because you don't want to get another job, right?
No. So it's funny because when I had my job, and rightfully so, I was being paid by a company. That's a priority. You know, it had to come first. That's just, good morals. Like, someone's paying you to do something, that has to come first. So my blog and the Catholic homestead always kind of took a back seat to that. Not that my job took a lot of time and effort, but it did take time mentally and,
Yeah, but we weren't all that interested.
And we weren't, and it was, but when now that I don't have the job, the thing is that if I don't make money, I'm going to be not forced, but, there's that pressure to find another job. So that pressure then turns into, well, if I have to work, I want to make money doing things that I'm in control of.
And that you want to do.
That's the other thing, too, is that, when, not that I ever had to, but there's always this fear being a Catholic that when you work for somebody else, there may be something that they're going to ask you to do that you can't do.
Right.
That's the other thing, too, And not that ever happened. By the grace of God, I always was never asked to do anything or write about anything that conflicted with being a Catholic.
Your first job, internet-based real job, you worked for a company, and it was highly motivated towards the alphabet soup people.
Yes.
So you always lived on the edge.
Thinking, are they going to ask me to write about this? Or
not ask, they're paying you.
Or tell me I have to.
Telling you have to write an article about, something.
Well, and I can remember there was a time where we had this pipeline of article ideas, and I wrote for the DIY home sector.
Right.
So it was all DIY crafts, dollar store DIYs, thrift flips, things like that. But there was always that fear that, something was going to come up in the pipeline that would conflict with my Catholic morals. And one day there was.
Yeah.
And you always got to pick in the morning what you wanted to write. But sometimes the content editor would slide things into your pipeline.
Right.
And I watched this article that they wanted me to write. Or not wanted me to write, but it was in the pipeline. And I was like, please don't slide that into my workflow. Please don't slide that into my workflow. And I just watched it day after day.
Yeah.
And it never did. And I don't know. And then eventually it got slid into somebody else's.
Uh-huh.
And it was about the,
Yeah, the stuff.
By
the way, just so everybody's clear, in Canada, we're legally not allowed to talk about that.
So this is the problem that I had.
It's a hate crime.
Why it was such a stress to me was that if that got slid into my pipeline, I don't know what I would have said because it's a hate crime.
Right. So we have controlled speech in
We have
Canada.
controlled speech. So I'm like, thinking.
And I mean, a lot of people, a lot of that slides under the radar. Like, I mean, they're not running around controlling everybody's speech. But at any moment, you could get targeted.
Right. And if I would,
Are you the person that gets picked to get targeted?
Yeah.
Do you ruffle the wrong feather the wrong day?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like
so it was just, it's always a fear. So my thing is that, what, if I have to make money and if I have to have a job, I want it to be something I can control. I would much rather work for myself.
Yeah.
I would much rather have the control to do the things I want to do and put out there what I want to do. What I want to put out there, I mean. Sorry.
So, and your YouTube channel, I mean, the Catholic Homestead is almost non-existent.
I think we have 281 subscribers. I mean,
no, 181.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, I think it's only 181. It's not It's not over 200. Well, it's been.
Maybe you're right.
It's been sitting there dead.
It's been sitting there dormant for a year, over a year.
More than a year.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think we have that many.
Well, anyways, but we, oh yeah, you're right, 183.
Yeah. So not very many.
Yeah, we haven't posted a video in a year. It's been a year since.
And these things have to be worked at. If you expect to be a content creator, you have to pump out the content.
Yeah, you can't go dormant or people forget about you.
Right, and which happened to you, right? Which happened to you because
because here's the thing, and I'll come clean. I made a comment here on the podcast a while ago about wanting to get off the internet.
Yeah.
About wanting to distance myself from Facebook and Instagram, but I do also always go with God's will.
Yeah.
And I always ask God for direction, and I always wait for Him to lead me.
Yeah.
And losing my job was a sign to me. Like, things happen in your life which I take as God's direction.
Right, right.
And
and this is a way, for as long as it lasts, everything is up, everything is
always up in the air.
Is up in the air, right? And everything changes from day to day. But this is an actual legit way for people to make money.
Because here's the thing. Like, would I love to be a stay-at-home mom and just make pear jam and bake sourdough bread and do that, raise my kids and whatever?
Yeah.
That's the ultimate dream, obviously, but it's not a reality for me.
Yeah.
It's not the way my life, because of choices that I've made and things I've done, I'm in this position where I have to have a job.
Yeah.
And it's not the ideal, but it is a reality. And the thing is that I like to live in this world where I think the world's just gonna, this is gonna sound so bad, would just implode or something. Like, we're always waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Yeah.
And like, the internet doesn't matter, and like, so what? Just live at home, bake bread, and whatever. But I have to keep telling myself that's not reality.
Right.
You're like,
oh
if you're
my gosh.
You have to keep living your life. You can't sit there and go, well, the world is awful, the world is evil, and I'm just waiting for it to explode.
Yeah, well,
you can't live like that.
No, you can't. Oh, this is the perfect intro, and we didn't even plan this. For Ava's speech. Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah. Let me go get it. As long as she didn't take it back to school or something.
You just pause.
No, you keep talking. I'll just get it.
Well, I don't know what to say when you leave the room.
Oh.
Holly's gone to find this speech. Well, I'll tell you about the speech. What happened was Ava goes to school at Our Lady of Victory Academy with Father and the nuns. And last year she was in grade 9, and Father's way of teaching religion is they were doing apologetics, and they would read something, and then they would have to write something about it, and then they would have to give like a 3-minute speech. So last year when Ava was doing this, she said, I don't know what to do here. Like, she said, I don't know anything about, like, I don't understand this at all.
She wasn't grasping what she was
wasn't
reading.
grasping it at all. So Grandma stepped in and helped her a little bit. And I said, well, here, let's read this and Grandma will help you. And so and we were actually driving on the way to Michigan, and this is how we spent the whole time going to visit friends, was preparing this speech. So I read it. Then I explained it to her. I had to read it several times. Like I felt like it was almost over my hairspray. Like that's how, in depth I thought this stuff was.
Right.
And and then I explained it to her. And then she still looked at me very blankly. She still didn't grasp it. And then I said, okay, well, here, Grandma will, help you write the speech. So I started basically writing the speech. So basically, I said, you need to start like this, blah, 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 and you need to do this, blah, 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 like this. And I'm like, then you need to say this. And I'm going to say maybe 90% of the work was mine.
Yeah.
And don't tell Father, okay? This was last year,
This was last year. And, well, she needed that.
She needed that. I mean, I didn't do it by myself. Here, let me do all the work and you go play video games.
No, she was there.
She was there.
Learning.
And I said, people said, oh, so you basically wrote that, Mom? They would say that to me. And I said, yes, but it doesn't matter because she was there and she was learning it. I said, I'm far more important that she understands what is being said.
Well, and not only that, not just grasping the work that she was doing at the time. What you were doing was setting up the building blocks for her to be able to write a speech on her own.
Right.
You can't, like, this is the thing people don't, I think, misstep or like misguided sometimes, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Like, they think you say to a kid, here, go write a speech. Like a kid knows what that means.
Right.
Child, sorry. Like, anyways.
If you
want your children to learn how to do something, you can't literally just say, go and do that.
Yeah.
You have to actually take the building blocks and set them up for life, and you have to actually teach them these skills that they need to learn how to do these things.
Yeah. So we went on through that. It was only maybe about 4 or 5, 6 at the most speeches that she came and said, okay, got to write another speech. And I would go read it over, and then I'd go over it with her down, and I'd break it down, and then I would end up doing the majority of the work. But she also prepared the speech. Like she would read it, and I would teach her how to present to the class what was written.
Like, see, that's the thing. There's all these elements in speech giving.
Right. So anyway, so that was fine. So again, we're at school this year, and again, this is what happened. We're in grade 10 now. We're back to this speech thing. This year we're doing parables. Mm-hmm. So her parable was, what was it?
The fishing net.
The fishing net, right? So anyway, so she has this parable. So she goes, oh, Grandma, speech time. She comes right over, and I say, okay. So we read, and this is, the information here was pretty extensive. First they had the parable, and then they had like 3 long pages of explanation for what the parable meant. So you weren't going cold turkey off of the parable, right? And so you had to do a 3-minute speech in your own words on this parable. And that is kind of difficult for people to do because, I mean, even for myself, I thought about it. I said, well, they just gave you all the information. What more is there to say?
Yeah.
So you have to go outside of the box.
Well, and you have to you can't just copy that information out of the book. You can't just copy and paste.
You can't do a
copy. It has
well,
to
Father
be in
said,
your own words.
It has to be your own words. It has to be your own thoughts, right? So then I said to her, think about it this way. And I started pulling from other things like The Imitation of Christ and other sources that I've read, and I gave her all these other thoughts about the fishing net. And then she said, this is what she said to me, not, okay, thanks, I got it.
Basically, I'm good.
I'm good, right? So then she
she went home.
She went home and she wrote the whole entire speech.
Herself,
100%.
Because you set her up with the building blocks to do that.
Right.
Rather than just saying to your kids, write a speech.
Right. And it was basically about what we were just talking about living in the world. Because this is a big question as of late. Yeah. Right? But go ahead, read her speech.
I'll read her speech.
Because it is really good.
It's really good.
100% her.
So this is 100% Ava. The fishing net. Good morning, Father and fellow classmates. Imagine you are a fish swimming in one of the great waters of the world. You're swimming amongst female fish, male fish, white fish, black fish, and fish of every shape, size, and color of the rainbow. All of a sudden, a net comes splashing into the water, scooping up all the fish in sight. You're then taken to a nearby beach and sorted by the fishermen. Good fish, toss. Bad fish, toss. I wonder what fish you'll be. My parable this week is the fishing net, a parable that has been applied to our situation in life for centuries. The ocean is the world, and we are the fish living in it. In the world, there are many places to roam and many people to meet. When you meet a person you don't know anything about, just by saying hello, just like you can't judge a book by its cover, you can't judge a person. After you get to know them a little better, you might be able to say, this person does this, or this person is better. But you still can't fully judge, as it is not our place to do so. Can I distance myself from the bad people? Well, no, you cannot. We will always have one bad fish in our life, and we will always live side by side with the good and the bad, and there is no bubble. One more time, there is no bubble. We had our bubble when Adam and Eve were in paradise, but by original sin we allowed evil into our paradise, thus losing it forever. Now we have to swim in the ocean among the good and the bad. If I can't distance myself from bad people, will I be lost? That all depends on you. You are the one responsible for your soul, no one else. Some fish around you may cause scandal, and some fish may take scandal. But as we know as followers of Christ, we may not give scandal or take it. So don't be offended. When your fellow fish is giving scandal, simply turn your head and swim away. So if there is no bubble, how will I survive? Well, in the parable, the fishing net is another term for the church. The church scoops us up like the net and helps to prepare us before we reach the shores of final judgment. Even though there are still bad fish, as there will be everywhere you go, the church is the safe haven. The church makes us strong in our faith, teaches us virtue, and can lead us to our Lord. Trust me, you don't need the bubble. One day, the net, also known as the church, will be cast into the sea, taking every fish to the shores of final judgment. It is there that we will be judged justly for our actions as fish in the sea. The fisherman sorting out the fish is our Lord, the only one who can judge us accordingly. He will pick up the fish one by one, deciding good fish or bad fish. And the bad ones he will toss away to be mangled by the birds, and the good ones he will take with him to enjoy the eternal reward. The important thing for us is to decide, which fish am I, the good or the bad?
Wow.
The end.
Isn't it?
It's incredible to me because I have to say, I don't think I could have wrote this.
Yeah. I was like, well,
and she did this by herself.
Not just by herself, but even like, I'm the one that broke it all down for her.
Right. These are her words,
those
not
are her
yours.
words. Like
you never said
I
any
may
of
have
this.
said bubble. I think I might have said bubble.
Yeah.
You can't be in a bubble. Like I may have said a few things.
I can hear myself in here, like things she's picked up from me. Like, so don't be offended. I say that all the time to them.
Yeah.
Stop being so offended. You know, like stop taking everything so personal.
Yeah.
You know, like I hear myself in here a little bit, but it's like, these are her words.
Right.
This is the way she interprets that parable. Like the way she hears that parable, you know, and it's like, I don't think I could have wrote this.
Yeah. Well, no, it was pretty exceptional.
Yeah.
And I know Father thought it was like, wow. And and last year was a different story, but this year that was 100% her.
Yeah.
This week she's doing the wayward child.
The wayward child. So
right. And so anyway, we worked on it a little bit, and she wrote it. Or when I say we worked, I went over it. Like she read to me everything that was in the book.
Right.
And I kind of went over it, and then she wrote it, and I said, "What?" Because she was with me last night, and I said, "Well, read that back. Well, what have you written?" Because she had finished it, so she read it to me, and I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, it's not as good as last week's."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, maybe you can tweak it here and there. I said, it's still good, but she's right. Like that was exceptional.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't believe it when she read it, and I was like,
and I said, so we were
wow.
driving somewhere, and then on the way there, I said, well, maybe you could do this at the intro. She said, yeah, I think I'll do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what her remake is like.
With her remake, yeah. We could just read Ava's speeches every week on the podcast.
But the thing is like, that's it. We can't live in a bubble. The parables tell us we can't live in a bubble. How many times? The wheat and the shaft.
Yeah.
The good fishes and the bad fishes. God says we're here. There's no bubble. And if anybody, I'm friends with on Facebook, I went on a little bit of a...
I saw it.
a little bit of a ramble over, because I was watching these cult families that run away and try to isolate themselves from the evil. Mm-hmm. And what's really, really... they become the evil, and they are legit evil. Like, they are legit
and
evil.
And when I was thinking about I was reading your status, and all I could think about was the apostles.
Yeah.
Like, here they are in one of the most tumultuous times. Our Lord has just died. Mm-hmm. And this is where Christianity is coming from.
Yeah.
Our Lord. And, I mean, there was evil, untold evils. Nero's circus, anyone?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm thinking in my mind, what if they were like, oh, we can't be near that evil? Think of that for a minute.
No, I know.
That's evil. We can't be near that evil. What if the apostles sheltered themselves?
Well, actually...
and ran and hid? No, they couldn't do that because they had to spread Christianity throughout the world.
Right. And also, too, that's in the wayward child, too, right? So Jesus says to the Pharisees, he says, John the Baptist came, I can't remember it exactly, but, neither drinking nor whatever. And him, you thought he was too harsh.
Yeah.
And I came and drinking and eating with the sinners, and you call me,
Yeah.
Here you are doing this. I can't even remember the parable,
right.
actually. But the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's the truth, right? Like, when Jesus came, he went directly to the sinners. Like, I don't suggest that, we, join the biker group so we can be with the sinners, or,
But we also can't hide ourselves away.
But we can't hide ourselves away.
He said to his disciples, go.
Yeah.
Go and teach.
So in order for us to be able to do that, we have to be very firmly cemented ourselves.
Right.
Right. So you have to, and this has been a big, if anybody's been friends with me on Facebook, they know it's been my beef for a little bit, that we have to cement the children really, really strongly.
Right.
And they have to stand on their own.
Yeah.
Like, you want your child to be an apostle for Christ.
Yeah.
You don't want them to be hiding in your basement forever. Like, what is that?
Well, when
like,
they're down there, I know they're safe.
Like, oh yeah, well, goody for you.
Well, good for, like, they're safe, but they're also not.
They're hiding a talent in the sand. Another parable.
Right.
They're not. And when you do that, you actually do become the evil.
Right, because
you get all warped and twisted.
Right.
The minute we start not doing what God asked us to do, that is the minute that
you're not doing God's will.
You yourself are not doing God's will.
You're doing what you want.
What you want, exactly.
Out of fear, whatever the reason, but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And once you take those dark paths, you get demented really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, the same thing. It's like, if you're too busy hiding at home.
Yeah.
And you're staying away from all the evil, and you're not leaving your house, or whatever, in your commune, whatever you want to call it. Well, you're not getting the sacraments.
Yeah.
You're not getting, and you need those sacraments.
Right, you do.
You need communion. You need penance. You need all those things. And why do you need those things? You need them because Christ gave them to us.
Right.
They were instituted directly from Christ.
Yeah.
You can't hide. You
Uh-huh.
can't. You have to have those things.
And also, you're not putting any faith in your children either.
No.
You're not putting any faith that they're, that they're incapable of doing the things necessary. I'm not going to say a lot of kids will fall away.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Just do. I mean, your brother, he's a firm believer that, well, maybe because it was him he's talking about, but that, well, don't they have to?
Yeah.
He said so they can come back. I mean, they don't have to. Don't get me wrong.
It's not the ideal.
It's not the ideal. But he's under the impression that, if people, well, the parable, I mean, I don't want anybody to fall away. I don't want to I don't want this to make it sound like I think that. But like if you have children, this is why, we do penance and we sacrifice for them, is that they come back. Like once they've dabbled in the evils of the world, it is kind of easier for them to come back because they know what the evils actually are.
Right.
So if you're in that circumstance, like I was with practically all my children, I mean, not to different degrees, right?
Some worse than others.
Some worse than others, we won't mention names.
Hey, you know what? I will tell you something, and I think about this often because I know we're not supposed to play the what if game. But, you do look at your life and you do see mistakes and you see choices that you made that were not great ones. And then you think, well, what would my life have been if I didn't make the bad choice?
Yeah.
Where would I be today? Can't think like that. But, I live for the present now. And I think in my mind, this is where I am. My choices have led me here. They were not great choices. But from here on forward, I have a decision to make.
Right.
You can sit in squalor, you can sit in sin, you can sit in unhappiness, you can sit in anything. You can sit in joy, you can sit in happiness, you can sit in anything. You make the choice every day to decide what you sit in.
Yeah.
You make the choice. When I get up today, am I going to do God's will or am I going to do my will?
Yeah.
Maybe God's will for me today is to suffer.
Yeah.
And be sad and whatever, make a lot of sacrifices, then I got to try my best to do that. Maybe God's will for me today is to have a joyous day.
Yeah.
To be happy. But at the end of the day, if you're doing God's will, whether you're suffering or you're having good times or whatever, if you're doing God's will, you're going to be happy no matter what you're doing.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, 100%. That's why they say the same.
If you get up every day and you make the choice to do God's will and not your own, the suffering will be there, but it doesn't seem as bad as
well. That's why they say the saints.
Doing
the
it for
saints
God.
were happy. Okay, guys, I can't repeat anything unless it's right in front of me. But the saints were happy in the midst of war.
Yeah.
And we're miserable in the midst of peace.
Yeah.
And that does take a lot of reflection.
Oh, yeah.
To say how miserable we are on a regular basis when the saints were never miserable. Like, they just never were.
No. That's what makes them saints.
That's what makes them saints. So, I mean, we have to work towards that. That's all.
Yep. Well, should we carry on with our book here?
Sure.
It's been 2 weeks and I can't remember where we were. So, because we were right in the middle of a chapter and we were talking about general reminders. So this was table etiquette, manners at table. And I think these were general reminders. Right. I think we just left off at the beginning of the page. So I'm just going to start here. And if we've repeated anything from 2 podcasts ago,
oh, well,
so
I guess we needed to know.
God's saying, hear it again. Okay, so quote, when required to pass a dish that is resting on the table, lift it and hand it gently to the sister next to you. Oh, I do remember this. Remember, pass the pitcher in such a way that the handle is turned towards the sister? Yeah, we did talk about that.
Move on down.
Never use okay, yeah. And then we talked about serving yourself the most desirable things on the dish.
Uh-huh. What?
See, pleasure. Okay, I'm just trying to get our...
Maybe we're at the top of the next page.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay, quote, avoid holding the knife near the blade. Clasp it by the handle. The same custom applies to forks and spoons.
Yeah, well, you don't want to hand somebody something. I mean, to me, we live. To me, this is very common knowledge because we live in a world of germaphobes,
Germaphobes, yeah.
right? So nobody wants to eat off of a spoon that you've had your hands all over.
Right,
So
right.
I mean that really is not. That's really not something. That's very common for us.
These are just, and it's just common courtesy.
Right.
Quote, be careful not to use the fingers for pushing the food onto the fork. It is customary to employ a small piece of bread for this purpose. Oh, end quote. So basically they're just saying your hand should never touch your food. You can
Yeah.
use a small piece of bread
Yeah.
to kind of, but then isn't your hand touching the bread?
Well, you're gonna eat.
Well, you're gonna eat the bread, yeah, I
Or
guess.
but a
But I guess
knife
it's like,
though. A
you know, if
knife
you're
would.
say if you're using a fork and you're trying to eat peas, don't
Yeah.
use your fingers to scoop
Yeah.
the peas onto the fork or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Quote, approved etiquette no longer requires that the fork be changed from the left to the right hand after the food has been cut. It is now considered correct to hold the fork in either the left or the right hand when conveying food to the mouth. End quote.
So once upon a time, so etiquette changes according to our book. Once upon a time, you had to cut. Eating would have been a bit of an ordeal, eh?
Back
You,
then, yeah.
you know, you would have to cut your food, and you held the fork. I'm going to say you held the fork with the left hand because you'd be right-handed, right?
Yeah.
The knife with the right hand. So you would use your knife to cut the food, and then you would put them down, and then you would pick up the fork with your right hand and then eat it. Like you would transfer that, cut and transfer the knife fork from
But they're
one hand.
saying now you don't have to do
Now
that.
you don't have.
Well,
Wow,
thank
what a
goodness they
relief!
take
Phew.
that one off our plate.
We no longer have to do that. I think. I mean, this is all. I like the thing is that nobody follows any of this. If you want to sit down at your dinner and lick it with your tongue, I mean, people might say stop doing that, but people do whatever they want. You know,
they don't. But
They
back
don't-
then, people would have been paying attention to these things.
they paid very, very
Well,
close
and I think
attention
the
to
other
them.
thing we have to remember too is at this point in time, what is this again? 1953.
Yeah.
The world moved a lot slower.
Right. Right.
There was no internet. There was no, fast-paced environments. The world moved very slow, and people did pay attention to these things. Etiquette was paid attention to. So if you were eating and you weren't using your fork correctly, people noticed. But I think nowadays we live in such a fast-paced world where things are constantly moving, constantly changing from day to day. The internet has done that,
Yeah. Oh,
if you
yeah.
want my personal
Yeah.
opinion. Cell phone. But no one's really paying attention to anybody because they're so self-absorbed,
Right.
I think.
Oh,
Anyways.
no, absolutely. You don't pay, it's very self absorbed. You only pay attention to yourself and you move very fastly and you do what you want to do. You
Yeah.
do you.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, quote, keep your plate looking neat, end quote. That's one sentence all on its own. Just very matter of fact, keep your plate looking neat. So while you're eating,
Yeah.
I guess don't have all your food slopped all over the place. Okay, quote.
I just got to
You
tell
got something to say about that?
Yeah, just a funny little story. But
Is this about Grandma turning the plate?
No.
Oh, okay.
She got, now, do we have to tell that
No,
story?
no. I've heard that
As a
one
little
many
girl,
times.
she got her hand whacked with a
for
knife.
turning the plate.
When her this is the truth. Her grandmother
There.
said stop turning because she was turning.
She wanted the pattern to be straight on the plate.
Yeah,
So she was turning the plate.
So she was because she had been sitting there turning the plate. She's a little girl, and her grandmother said, "Stop turning the plate," and she just had to turn it
just
a
a
little
little
bit more
centimeter to the
so
left.
that it would be even. And because she didn't stop immediately, her grandmother took the back of a knife and not
whacked her hand.
whacked her hands like the
back
the
of
flat
end.
end.
Yeah, the handle.
Or I would say the flat end.
Yeah.
Not the sharp.
Yeah.
So anyway, she tells that story all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not what was
Okay, what's your story?
one of my children.
Oh, I know.
They were eating very sloppily
Yeah.
and getting food everywhere. And my brother was making fun of them. Like,
Oh, we always know where so-and-so sits.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. And she was very offended by this.
Yeah.
And of course, this is another episode that I don't actually remember.
But she does.
But she does. And then she repeated it to me as an adult. Like, I don't remember that happening.
Yeah.
But it was a moment, a learning moment for her. She came to me and she said, Uncle Rod, blah, 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 making fun of her.
Yeah.
I said, then don't eat messily.
Yeah. If you don't want him to make fun of you for eating like a slob, the way to fix that is to not eat like a slob.
Yeah, and so she said, and I get, and this is how children learn too,
Well, and that
right?
stuck with her.
Like to me, it was just another day.
Another day at the office.
Another day at the office, with kids and eating and tables and whatever and family. But to her, it was
a life monumentally changing moment.
Right? That she repeated to me as an adult.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, quote, wipe the mouth before drinking to avoid giving the cup or glass a soiled appearance. Swallow your mouthful of food before taking a drink. End quote.
That is gross, though.
It is, and I'm
Even
just laughing
because thinking about it is kind of turning my stomach a little bit.
So we all know what that means. Just make sure I can't even think about it.
Don't do that. Like, take care of your appearance, that you're not being slobby.
Yeah. Okay, quote, if you pause while eating, let your fork lie across the middle of your plate. Handle well off the edge at the right. When the knife is not in use, place it across the rim of the plate. Handle to the right. Sharp edge of the blade turned toward the center of the plate. End quote. Like, okay, can we just talk about how nobody thinks about that? And that's so specific.
Yeah.
How specific is that?
That's pretty specific. Exactly how you're supposed to put your utensils.
When you paused from eating.
Yeah.
And we never think about that. Crazy. Okay, quote, carefully guard against whatever might cause annoyance or disgust, such as toying with dishes or silver, putting the fingers to the mouth, or using the handkerchief unnecessarily or noisily. It may be difficult to avoid a cough or a sneeze, but one may always turn the head away, cover the mouth with the hand, and suppress the noise to a considerable degree.
I know.
End quote.
You're still thinking about my obnoxious
I'm still
sneeze.
thinking about your obnoxious
I've been
sneeze.
trying, though, but usually it comes too fast, and it's
it's already gone. And you've already scared everybody in the room.
I have been trying, though.
I'm just joking.
No, but I'm telling you, when you get into a habit, like, and this is a years of habits, like, that's how I sneeze.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
I wish just once you would sneeze on the podcast. We'd lose all our listeners.
I'd make you take it out.
I know. I'm just teasing. I'll just never forget the first time my husband heard it. You weren't kidding. It's an event, guys. It's an event. Okay, quote. Try to keep your napkin and the tablecloth at your place free from spots. If you accidentally stain your napkin, adjust it so that a clean part is made to show and the soiled part keep hidden. End quote. I'm just going to comment on that for a minute because I do that.
Do you?
Like, if say you're at, on Monday night, my sisters and I were at a banquet and they give you white napkins,
yeah,
cloth napkins, white. And you've got, and you wipe your mouth and then there's a spot on your napkin. I always fold that spot in. Even though the napkin's just on my lap.
Yeah.
I don't want people to see the stains
grossness.
And grossness on my napkin. So I always turn it in,
Yeah.
Okay, quote, consideration for others should prompt you to wash out the spots you have made on the tablecloth, especially if another sister is to occupy the place at which you are sitting, as, for example, at second table.
Well, they would have, I guess, couples of many sittings, right?
Yeah.
So they're not going to change the tablecloth
right.
for every sitting.
So if they're saying if you make a spot, don't leave it.
Don't leave it like messy for another person. Like, and I guess, if we're here and we know that we've had dinner and the tablecloth is going to be ripped off and thrown into the wash after we're done, it's not so much of a big deal. But I think you should generally, if there's a tablecloth and you've got crumbs all over them, maybe wipe them into your hand or your napkin and then put them on the plate.
Yeah.
And try to keep your surroundings a little.
Well,
tidy.
I've gone my whole married life so far without using tablecloths.
But you are now.
And I am now because we have a friend and it's a very cultural thing for her to have tablecloths. She always has tablecloths. She says in our culture, they use tablecloths.
Yeah.
You don't sit down at a table without a tablecloth.
That's funny too, because we have two friends of that same.
Yeah.
They're Portuguese.
Yeah,
and both of them use tablecloths.
Right, and I never at my grandma's house there was always a tablecloth.
We always use tablecloths.
But that's because it wasn't a real table.
Yeah, it was.
It sat 22, and it was folding tables all put together.
Big ones.
And then we had a big long tablecloth that my grandma made, and then plastic over it to protect the tablecloth. So I wouldn't call that really having that tablecloth mentality.
No. But I did like it.
But I like it. And so now when I've gone to this friend's house, I'm like, oh, I like that. I like having tablecloth. So I went out and I bought a nice fall tablecloth, and I thought I'm going to try using tablecloths. So I bought this nice fall tablecloth, and we sit down last night to have dinner, and I said to my family, now, do we think we can eat on this tablecloth without ruining it? And then I'm like, I don't think I have the tablecloth mentality because I think they just sit down and if their stuff gets on the tablecloth, they throw it in the wash and they get another tablecloth.
Yeah, that's what we did when we were at our house.
I know, but I don't think I can do that. And there's my son with his broccoli, green stuff all over my tablecloth, and I'm just like, I don't think I'm ready for tablecloth mentality
yes, you are. You can do it. You just have to, they have tons.
I know I got to get more tablecloths is what I'm hearing.
Right, so this one's soiled, off it goes
and
on with
get
the new
another one, but
Oh,
I just did not want them to wreck that tablecloth. I know, and my husband's like, really? Like, well, let's just try to keep the food on our plates, shall we? And I'm watching them all eat.
Well, it's good practice for etiquette.
It is good, because they should be able to eat on a tablecloth without slopping their stuff everywhere.
Right.
So we're all learning. Anyways. Okay, quote. Though a necessary use of the sight is very important at table, nevertheless be mindful of the rule calling for custody of the eyes in the refectory. It is most unbecoming in a religious to look around idly at everything that is going on. Above all, it is very rude to stare at anyone, whether at one's own table or in some other part of the refectory, end quote. So I guess basically while you're eating, you shouldn't be bobbing around.
I don't think,
looking at...
I think in general, the religious have to have their custody of their eyes all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Like they can't do our famous people watching.
Oh yeah, I love to people watch. It is a problem.
It is a problem, and and I would, if I come into a room, I'm like, oh, what's that over there? What's that up over here? I'm taking in everything.
Yeah.
Like I have to look at I look at what's on their stove. I look,
Yeah, I know, it is bad.
It is bad. Like maybe we have to be more like
custody of the eyes.
Custody of the eyes and not be like all over the place.
Right. Okay, quote. Avoid showing reactions to food or to mishaps at table by any sign of annoyance, even in facial expression. Emergencies are often the real test of the sincerity of one's politeness, end quote. I mean, that's a really good point, reactions to food or mishaps. Somebody spills a drink at the table and you go, like just keep control of yourself. I mean, somebody spilled a drink.
Oh, it's okay. It's no big deal.
Nothing blew up. Relax, And I have to remind myself all the time. I caught myself doing it the other day, and because I for the school, I go down to the school 15 minutes early before pickup time to play the piano for them for music class, and they're learning, and there's a lot of young children there.
Yeah.
And some of the voices are not the greatest.
Right.
That's just a fact of life. Not everybody can sing, but they all have to do music class, which is fine. So they're singing this song the other day, and I'm sitting there playing the piano, and then I caught somebody staring at me because I was making faces.
You were doing...
I was like, just like,
Oh,
I
stop.
can't even.
My ears are hurting.
Yeah, like kind of like because they can be very loud too. The kids
Right.
can be very when they know the song, and then they think they're like we're talking grade 1 to grade 12. Okay, so there's a wide variety of children
Yeah.
here that are learning, and I get that. I'm not making
Yeah.
a judgment. I'm just saying. In my mind, I'm like, control your face because they're screaming, they're not singing.
Yeah.
And you're like, your face has that like this is horrendous look on it.
Somebody shoot me
to
now.
to my defense, for the children, I face away from them. My
Yeah.
back is to the kids. They can't see my face. But one of the teachers was standing with something, but I'm learning, and I'm like, oh, control your face because this really isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
And they're learning. So control your face and don't make those stupid faces that
Right.
like this is the worst thing you've ever heard.
Well,
I'll
tell you where you really have to control your face in that instance.
Ooh, me particular?
No, anybody.
Oh.
Go to a music recital.
Yeah.
And little kids up on stage and they're like, ah, what is, and you're just like, and to be polite, you have to sit there and say, wasn't that lovely?
Lovely. Yeah. I mean, that is politeness.
Because they're learning, they're trying to learn, and they're doing a presentation. So,
and I mean, let's give them some props too. They're getting up on a stage full of and an auditorium full of people.
Right.
Anyone who's had to do that knows it's not easy.
No, and you don't want to discourage that.
And you don't want to discourage that
by snickering or laughing. You have to sit there and act like it was
So I'm just saying it was a learning moment for me that I was like, even though they can't see me, I should control my face. I mean, because they are learning, and I mean, some people just can't sing, but when you go to school and you have to do music class, it don't matter.
Well, you remember your Aunt Annie Grace.
Yeah, I know. She got told was it Sunday school?
Oh, I thought it was just music class.
Or just music class at school. She got told not to sing. She said, you should just mouth the words.
You don't sing.
You just mouth the words.
The choir director said.
That's what the choir.
I said, can you imagine doing that now? Telling
I don't think you'd be allowed to.
Yeah, telling a kid they can't sing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, quote, when finished eating, place your knife and fork together in parallel position across the center of your plate, handles slightly to the right. The tins of the fork should be turned up, the sharp edge of the knife toward the middle of the plate. If the spoon has been used, it is left in the saucer or across the plate, bowl up. End quote. I did know that. I did know that you place that. My Aunt Grace taught me that.
Yeah.
That when you're done with your food, you place your fork and knife parallel across
Annie Grace
the plate.
died at, we did a podcast on it, but she died at 97.
Yeah.
What, 15 years ago? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, born in 1909.
1909. So she was, she would have been right tuned with all these. And she was also in service. So she was from England. So as a young girl at 13, she went into service. So and that's what they did in England at the time. So they went to, the Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And they were in a household where they did whatever they did.
Yeah.
So she knew it all.
Yeah. Okay, wait until all at the table are finished eating before collecting the plates. If any sisters are inordinately slow, the collecting might begin when all others are finished. The younger sisters at every table should take turns in scraping and piling the plates, end quote. So yeah, I mean, that's a good rule of thumb, especially I would say, if you're entertaining or even if you're at somebody's house and you want to help, don't start clearing plates until everybody's done. It's very awkward for the person eating.
Yeah.
When they start clearing plates away and you're still eating, and then you feel like you have to rush or
The one thing that I will say from being a expert hostess, I've hosted lots and lots of things, and I've been lots and lots of places. The one thing that people find really, really annoying is if you're visiting and the people you're visiting are constantly cleaning.
Yes.
Right, so you take a mouth of a cracker and they've whipped away your plate before you're finished because they're constantly cleaning to keep the order.
Right, or you're visiting somebody and they're cleaning up and like just talking to you from the sink or something, or like if you have people in your home visiting you, it's okay to let the cleanup wait until they leave.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you don't have to leave the table a mess. You can collect the plates and go put them over by the sink.
Maybe if it's like Christmas dinner or something and all the women want to come and help,
Help, that's fine.
that's fine.
But I've also been places where somebody is entertaining and hosting you and they're cleaning up while you're just sitting at the table and they're talking to you from the kitchen, or they're,
Yeah, like
you
they're
know,
not
or they're
really.
taking things out of your hand before you're done because they're striving so hard to keep cleanliness.
Yeah.
It's okay to let someone have a
Yeah.
coffee,
Yeah, it's
you
okay.
know, and
It's
let
and it's so
the
it is an act of charity to sit down and actually visit with
and be
people
present.
and be present at it, because if people have come over to visit with you and you leave them to do all the cleaning, well, what
Yeah.
was the point of them
I'm
coming?
coming. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously each situation is different. Like, a large turkey dinner,
Yeah.
and your whole family's there, and then all the me and your sisters and whatever,
Yeah.
we get up and we start cleaning up the mess because it's a massive mess,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that's logical. But
Yeah.
if you're having a few people over, and my mother actually said she learned that years ago, she refused to clean up at
Yeah.
at a visit, because her mother-in-law used to
Do
come
that?
visit. She didn't live in the same city, and so she would come and they would have a nice dinner, and that was fine. And then my mother would get up and she would clean.
Yeah.
She would clean up the dishes. And then when she was finished, she said, "Okay, now I'm ready to visit. Oh, now I got to go." And her
Yeah.
mother-in-law would leave. Like,
Yeah.
it was time for her to leave. And she was like,
I've spent the whole time
"I
cleaning
spent the
up.
whole time cleaning up."
Yeah.
And
When I could have done that after she left.
when I could have done that after she left, right? And so from then on, and if you come to anything in my house, you will notice nothing ever gets unless it's a large situation like 40
Chris-
people for Christmas dinner.
And then and that's because people want to help clean up.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
a group collective
It's
thing.
a
and
group collective
people are
thing.
washing the dishes in the
But
kitchen
you
and
will
chatting.
notice if you come to visit, nobody is jumping to do the dishes
Right.
until people have left.
Right. Right.
And it's also on the other side of things. If you're visiting someplace, it's really uncomfortable for you as the visitor
Yeah.
to be just sitting there
Well, someone's doing the dishes.
while someone's doing the dishes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, quotes. Sisters should not begin to crumb their places before the other sisters are finished eating. End quote.
crumb.
Sisters should not begin to crumb their places. Maybe swipe the crumbs away. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's a new one.
That's a new one.
Does anybody know what crumb their
Crummy?
place is? Put it in the comments. We haven't
Put
tell
it-
anybody to comment, but if you
Like
got a
if
thought
you know
to add
what
or
that is,
something,
yeah.
go ahead, put it in the comments, and clue us in. We don't mind being clued in.
We don't mind me. I just got to see this here. Yeah, a fair.
You're googling it. What
She
would we
brushed some of the cake crumbs. Crumb, a small fragment of bread, cake, or cracker. A very small amount of something. Verb, cover food. Yeah, it doesn't say anything like that. Okay, yeah, so I don't know.
I guess crumb your places.
Just swipe the
I'm going to say that doesn't mean to put crumbs on your places. It
Yeah,
means to
maybe
take
take them
off.
away.
Yeah.
Okay, quote, do not remove your napkin until the sister presiding in the refectory has removed hers, end quote. So
You gotta watch the boss.
Yeah. I mean, and that could be taken for us to mean, too, when you're at somebody's house, take your cues from them.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to somebody's house and they're entertaining you, take your cues from them. Watch what they do.
Okay, let's talk about something really awkward.
Oh, what?
When you go someplace where they're not Catholic.
Oh.
Like, is that not the most awkward thing in the world?
Yeah, like, what do you mean? For, like, grace
Because they
and
don't say
stuff?
grace.
They don't say grace.
So you're sitting there and people are eating. You don't know what to do. Like, are we supposed to start?
I
or
always
we're
just
not supposed to start?
Yeah, because like when you go to a Catholic home, it's common knowledge. Everybody knows you don't start until grace.
Right. So
you just sit down and wait for grace.
You sit down and you wait for grace. You don't. I mean, can we just talk about again for another instant why being Catholic makes so much sense? It just makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
There is a start. There is an end.
Yeah.
Everybody knows when because I know, because there's places that I have gone.
Oh, all the time
There's
go.
places that I have gone where the people should be Catholic and they should know to do this.
But they
and I'm
don't.
not talking about practicing Catholics. I'm
Yeah.
talking about people that are,
Right.
and they don't do it, and you just want to get up and say, come on, you should know how to do this so that this flows easy.
Easily. Yeah. Yep. Okay, quote, at the close of a meal taken outside your own convent, place your napkin partly folded but not crumpled at the left of your plate if you do not expect to be present for the next meal. End quote. Partly folded. Yeah, don't crumple your napkin, just throw it on the table, I guess. Quote, when grace after meals has been said, wait in quiet and silence in your place until the presiding superior and those accompanying her have left the refectory.
Right.
End quote. So that's the end of table manners, general reminders. But then the next subsection, it goes into foods.
Yeah. I'm going to say, like, I know people that have a lot of children, a lot of young children too. And I would say how this would be so hard to implement. Like, I just think of myself with, like, 5 kids under the age of 6 or something.
Yeah.
I'd be like, it's so hard to implement. But I do think it's never too early to try, to start. Like, I mean, you can't expect miracles like, like toddlers are going to.
Yeah.
But how fast do little kids learn grace?
Yeah.
The other day we were eating, and little Anna, who's just over a year.
Just over
a year. Her mom was like, it's grace in the name of the Father. She took her hands and she made her
just
do it.
over a year, yeah.
And they look at what I always enjoy is when little babies start to see what goes on around them. Like they get to that point where they all of a sudden are noticing what goes on around them.
Like they're actually a part of this world?
Yeah. And this is always
not
my
just a blob in a
favorite
car
thing
seat.
when you sit down as a large group of people, like, it's Christmas, say Christmas, and everybody sits down and we say grace. Mm-hmm. And you can see that little baby just, they're just watching everybody do the same thing. Yeah. And it's just like this awe, like it's just like this curiosity, and everybody,
like, oh, I'm a part of this?
Yeah. Like,
I get to be a part of this now?
Like, it really is. If you have a little, there's 2 instances with little babies that, the one is when they won't be left out anymore.
Yeah. Well, and we were just talking about that the other day because my mom and I had a profound moment with my son, because my mom and I do a lot of things together, and we are always on the road. We're always driving, doing things. And Ava, my daughter and son, are 5 years apart. So we would stop at, I think it was Tim Hortons.
It was Walmart. We were at Walmart.
Walmart?
It was Walmart. We were coming out of Walmart. So I don't know if we bought it at McDonald's or something in there.
Yeah, some kind of a slushie or something. Yeah. And we bought, my mom and I got our drink, and then we bought Ava a slushie. And there's little Doug, probably just over a year.
Yeah.
And I slap him in the car seat, and Ava's sitting in the back, slurping away on this slushie. And he's looking at her, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at my mom. And we all have drinks.
Yeah, and he doesn't have one.
And he doesn't have one. Because he was a baby.
Right,
like,
yeah. This was the first instance.
This was the first
that
instance.
we could not no longer ignore him.
And my mom was like, we can't ignore him anymore. He's watching all of us, and he knows we all have something, and he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Because before, when they're babies, they're just there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you would say, like, oh, if they made a peep or something, you'd, like, give them a little mum or something, or a baby cracker. But then my mom was like, no. And I remember her looking at me and going, we can't leave him out anymore.
So we had to do something with the drinks. We had to
find a cup and dump some of Ava's into this.
I said, he's a person now.
He's a person now. He's not just the baby in the car seat.
Right. And that happened just the other day with Anna, too. I gave all the kids ice cream bar.
Yeah.
And
popsicle or something.
Yeah. And Heather said like 3 times, where's Anna's? And I wasn't listening because I had the kids all around me. And here she is with her hand stretched out, like, where's my
popsicle?
I'm like, oh, she's a person now.
You're not just the baby in the corner anymore.
So
it's funny when you see that. They have those moments and you realize, oh, they're just one of the kids now,
Yeah, when they cross over.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll leave it there for this week, and we're at our hour, and we'll be back next week, hopefully, God willing, to talk about specific foods. And
maybe
things.
You can put some links. Maybe we can promote our own selves.
Yeah.
For something.
For a change.
we'll put it, and you can
I'll put my links in, and for the.
We'll
Catholic
give you a heads
Homestead.
up what's going to be on the
if you want to follow along with us with
What
that.
what video are you going to release first? The chicken coop
The
one?
rhubarb.
The rhubarb one. Okay, so if you go to the Catholic Homestead and watch the rhubarb one, you will see the fire that
You'll
took
see the fire that took place
in
that
my
my mom
kitchen.
calls, oh, the damage is so-so.
So
You can't see my face right now, but I was just like, so-so. That's your definition of so-so.
Well, I thought it was fixable, but I mean, it wasn't burnt to the ground.
I know, Mom, but your cabinets were charred.
Anyway, if you want, Holly's getting that
I'm
together.
getting that
I don't know
ready.
when she's going to.
My mom has this, she has this personality. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, that's good. No big deal. She's always, no big deal. Yeah. Our house is just burned to the ground. No big deal. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
It
well,
wasn't burned down, but
I
it was not so-so.
I do know. I'm not a overreactionary
No,
person.
she's not.
I don't.
Except for when she sneezes.
I don't get overly bothered.
No, she doesn't. Everything's so-so.
But-
Anyway, so yeah, the link will be in the description.
and we'll put
for
a
that.
link to you, Holly
Yeah,
Grace,
you can follow me there if you
'cause
like.
she's-
If you like crafting and stuff, that's all it is. It's just crafting, home decor,
Yeah, because
thrift flips, things like that.
you're having a hard time getting your following.
I'm
back.
having a hard time. What happened was I lost my funding for YouTube. Because to make money off of ads for YouTube, you have to have over 1,000 subscribers, which I had, and I had funding, and I have a lot of videos that have high views.
You have one
and
that has over 200,000
Yeah,
views.
and I was making a lot of money still from that, but because I stopped posting,
YouTube took it away.
YouTube took it away. They said you lost your monetization because I stopped posting. So they're doing this thing now where if you don't keep posting, they're not going to pay you for your ad revenue, which is ridiculous because they still have the ads on my videos.
Yeah.
But they get the money for it. So that made me very angry.
Yeah.
And so now I have the followers, I have all the subscribers, I have over 4,000 something, but I need to get my watch time up.
Yeah.
So if any of my good, holy Catholic friends, I love you all, want to help me out, you don't even have to watch me. Just put on my playlist in the background.
I actually think I don't think you might not get the view count for playlists.
No, I mean, just pick a video and put it on. I don't even care.
I don't think you do.
What do you mean?
I don't think they count playlists when people put
Well,
on a
yeah, but they
playlist.
can go to my channel and just click a video and watch it.
No, yeah. Yeah, I know, but I don't think YouTube allows playlists.
Watch hours?
Yeah, because they know it. They also know if you turn the sound off, too.
Yeah, so don't mute me. You'll have to listen to my annoying voice talk about,
And
fall
also
DIY.
put a like on
Put a
things.
like on it,
If you
yeah.
actually genuinely like content, put a like on it.
Because you have no idea how much it helps us. Like, you have no idea how much it helps the videos.
Yeah.
When you
Even
like
the Catholic
and you
Family
comment.
Podcast.
The Catholic Family Podcast. Like, if you are listening to one of their, like, the Feast Day Quick Takes, like it.
Like it.
Like it. Comment. Even if it's just something like, it doesn't have to be a massive comment. Just even say, I know there's one lady, God bless her, Kate, the prayer hands.
The praying hands, yeah.
She does that. I know she does that because it's a way to support the Catholic Family Podcast. And it's like, hey, I like this. And it shows YouTube like, hey, people like this
and
video.
what happens, the more likes something gets and the more views it gets, YouTube does, more people need to see this.
Yeah.
And they spread it farther.
Like, even if you just want to comment in emojis, it don't matter.
Yeah.
You know, just comment, just like it, put it out there.
I mean, I have a hard time because I have to comment on everything. I'm like, wow, this is really good. You know,
my mom is my biggest fan. She comments on all my videos. And I especially love when she asks me questions that she knows the answers to. I'm like, I know you're doing this just to help me out.
Well, I'm trying to think of something to say.
But I always chuckle, like, in my one video, there's these pumpkin dolls, which she made. And she comes on and she thinks she's so clever, too. And she comes on and she comments, ooh, I love those dolls. Where did you get them? Okay. See, the thing is I know you're you, and you know I know you're you. But for the people out there that don't know this, I feel like I have to respond, or they're going to be like, why'd she ignore that lady? So that anyways, it's just this little game we play. It's fun.
That's fine.
My sisters, they have a business too, and they especially love it when she comments on their stuff. Ooh, where can I get those fall bags or something or whatever? Ooh, I need one of those makeup pouches. And my sisters are like, yeah, okay, Mom, sure you do. You ain't buying anything off our page. Anyways, that's how you support people without actually having to shell out any money. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy anything. Your comments and your likes are free.
Yeah.
They don't cost you anything except for a few precious moments of your time. Anyways, we'll leave our little plug there. But I mean, I try to do it too now more often because I'm like, I want people to do it for me, so I try to do it back. But anyways, yeah, and like we haven't put the call out for a long time either, but if you ladies or gentlemen listening have Catholic businesses or any kind of thing that you want others on here to support, drop them in the comments.
And even if we've supported you before,
remind us
to support
you again.
Just say that was a long time ago. Can you do that
Yeah,
again?
get over here, Holly. I need some comments and some likes. I mean, this is a two-way street. I'm not just putting it out there for myself. I want to support all my good Catholic friends. So anyways, we'll leave it there. And we hope you all have a very blessed week. May God bless you and Our Lady guide you always. And Saint Teresa, pray for us.